You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. It's great to be chatting with you here today. Looking forward to getting into our Friday review. As always, I'll be bringing you the best of the week from the practice. This being a holiday week, we'll chat a little bit about that. I'll be talking about a book review, some more research. This has been a research-packed week on the Cabral Concept. And then, of course, some lab results to end the show. So I'm going to dive right into it today. Last week, basically, this Monday morning, I completed and finished my 7-day detox, which was great. This was my summer detox. Last year, I officially began taking people through in our CabralSupportGroup.com, completely free group, a functional medicine detox every quarter. So we have our winter detox in January, our spring, which is late March or the first week of April, summer right before the 4th of July. At least it's summer here in the New England area. And then we have our fall detox in September. So I love being able to connect with people during these functional medicine detoxes. I love people all around the world coming together to do their detox as a group. We get well over 100 or so of you commenting each day on the post as we go through each day, kind of posting about what's going well, what we're struggling with, how we're feeling, sharing our success stories. So pretty incredible. Always love doing that. And now, of course, I do it because the reason is the 4th of July, big holiday here in the United States, typically some barbecuing. And even though I didn't get wild yesterday, with my 4th of July cheat meal, it is a nice time. It's a time to be able to relax. Had a little bit of homemade apple pie, which was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, that was that. So we had a great time, a great week. Took my gluten and dairy support enzyme. I know many of you have been kind of chiming in, taking advantage of that. This week, you actually get a free bottle over at equilibriumnutrition.com. on all qualifying purchases while supplies last. You can check that out. It's simply, I think, over $99 purchase, you get a free bottle. It's an incredible product. A lot of people ask me about enzymes all the time. Are they worth it? Well, here's the thing with enzymes. So the gluten and dairy support enzyme helps you break down gluten and dairy. That's not surprising, right? But it also helps you break down beans and legumes to a greater degree. What do? You simply take one or two before a meal. So that's obviously easy to do, but how do enzymes work? Well, what they do is they help you break down the food to essentially a liquid in a much easier fashion. And then that is then able to work its way through your stomach. So it leads to less bloating and gas and distension and swelling, all of that in your stomach. Something we use every day, which is the daily digestive enzyme. That's a full spectrum enzyme that enables you to break down a myriad of foods. So you can actually use that on a daily basis with whole food meals, and it allows you to extract more nutrition from the food, more vitamins, more minerals, amino acids, etc. Why does that matter? Well, the easier it is for you to break down your food, the less energy you have to expend. So typically people feel more energetic on an enzyme. Is it something to produce energy? No, it's not. But if you use less energy to break down food, that means you get to keep more of your natural energy. That's why in natural health, we're always looking at the totality of the person. We're looking at the whole person. So absolutely amazing, and it just mimics what nature does. As you chew a food that would be raw in nature, inside of the cells of that food, when you crush the cell, it releases enzymes. Well, it's the same principle. So really, really great. I just wanted to touch on that. A lot of people have been asking for a children's mold-based protocol. Today, before we move on in the show, I wanted to update you that the children's mold-based protocol will be coming, I would say, by August, maybe September at the latest. So first, I have to be able to get a lot of these products as a liquid, because that's how we do it for most children. And then I need to be able to make sure we get them on the website. So it takes some time. So it probably actually will be September, but I want to let you know the children's mold-based protocol will be coming It's such an important test. There's a mold toxicity test. I know it's on the website equilibriumnutrition.com as mycotox, I believe the name of it is. And that's testing for mold. It's an important one. We see it more and more. Again, 52% of all households in the US and at least the UK do have mold, and that can lead to headaches and fatigue and learning disabilities and mood irregularities and allergies. So check that out. Really, really important. Okay, so the functional medicine detox you can find the gluten and dairy support, you can find the daily digestive enzymes, you can find the mold protocol, or you can, for adults, and you can find the mold test as well. Children's mold protocol coming soon. Just wanted to update you. Thank you for all your comments and feedback from last week. Just basically sending in your thank yous for the tick bite protocol. We appreciate you for that. So now I want to give you a couple recommendations. So a book that I don't think I've ever shared with you before, which is kind of funny because I pulled it out the other day, and I want to give you a little context behind this. I've been working a lot more than I have been in a long time, and that's because I've been recording hours upon hours of the Integrative Health Practitioner Level 2 videos, and I had to develop all of the curriculum as well. And I've been working with my team to make sure that the IHP Level 2s can get other people functional medicine labs. I don't know of any other company that's ever done this before, so we're creating it from scratch. And that means that it always takes 10 times as long. Well, a lot of hours. We'll put it that way. Just a lot of hours. That's all I'm going to say. So right beside me, and you could say it's a serendipitous occurrence, there was the book staring me in the face with a bright red block behind the title that says, "Take a Nap." And that's kind of exactly what I feel like I need to do a few times a week, especially the days that I'm going to be doing my workouts as well. So I think I'm going to try to experiment again. I used to do this in my past, but I haven't needed it, honestly, because I feel good, my energy's good, but I don't want to become too catabolic, and I talk about that quite often. So the days that I'm going to do a workout in the afternoon, the later afternoon, I'm going to experiment with going back to a 20-minute nap. Now, I always set my timer for about 24 minutes to 25 minutes. And the reason I set it for that is it takes me a couple minutes of getting out of my head and being like, are you really going to nap right now? You're really going to waste 20 minutes? You don't have time to be doing this. You're not going to fall asleep or relax anyways. You should just get up. You should do this, this, and this. That's our mind, right? That's the loop playing in our mind. We need to do more, right? So what I'm saying to myself is this. Listen, it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes to be able to lie down, close your eyes, or even sit in a seat and meditate and relax. I don't need to fall asleep, okay? I don't need to fall asleep for a nap to be effective. What I need to do, though, is quiet my mind and get myself into the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, as I'm doing this, I can be lying on an acupressure mat. I can have my feet in the True Medic Insta Shiatsu foot massager that I've spoken about before. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can just check it out on a previous podcast. Just go to stephencabral.com/podcast, and you can type in home foot massage, or just go to stephencabral.com/1162 for that direct episode. Absolutely amazing. You can add that. You could also use the Chi Revitalizer. And if you haven't seen that before, you can go to stephencabral.com/podcast. Just type in Chi Revitalizer or Chi Machine. You can check that out. But all of these things, or simply lie down. That's it, right? Put a towel down on the floor. Put a mat on the floor. Lie down. If you're at home, lie in your bed. Just relax. And it's simply a 20-minute power nap. And it's to shut down the central nervous system, relax, get out of fight or flight, and rejuvenate the nervous system. Basically, turn the switch off for a moment. So there's a great book. It tells you how long the nap should be. It tells you typical sleep cycles from an infant to early childhood to adulthood. It tells you about 90-minute sleep cycles for adults, like 40-minute for children. So it's pretty fantastic. And it's a short book, right? It's a fun book. It's only about 100 pages long. It's called Take a Nap, Change Your Life. I've had this book forever. When was the printing of this book? Let's see if I can find it right here. 2006. And I probably got it maybe 2008, 2009 or so. It's by Sarah Mednick, PhD, with Mark Ehrman. So check the book out. I'll put in the links today. Why don't I do this? I'll make it easy for you. All podcast links for shows and all that good stuff will be at stephencabral.com/1246. All right. Now, a bit of research for you. I want to share with you, I've been giving you a lot of research this week. So on Tuesday, and I gave you a ton of research on why we have to be careful of the information that we get with popular fad diets, with the media, etc. Gave you a bunch of research on phytic acid and phytates, and I would love you to listen more about this anti-nutrient mineral myth. And then on Wednesday, I gave you the research on how we do not add or increase, I should say, the number of fat cells in our body. It's pretty much set by adolescence, which is why I'm also so big on making sure our children are not overweight as well. Thursday's podcast, which would be the fourth day of my podcast week, I gave you a lot of great info and a research article on visceral versus subcutaneous body fat and how this deadly form of belly fat leads to an earlier death. I hope that you checked out that. That was all this week. You can find those shows at stephencabral.com/podcast. But today I wanted to give you one more piece of research. I don't remember if I gave this to you or not, so I find it extremely important to make sure that I give it to you. This is this, because you may not be using a daily aspirin, but I'm guaranteeing you that someone you know has been given that recommendation. Here's the latest research. This is why we always have to be careful with conventional-based medicine. And again, I have no problem at all with acute base usage of conventional medicine, including pharmaceutical drugs. If your life is in danger, you have a staph infection, you might die, use antibiotics, okay? I'm not going to go through each and every scenario. If your life is at risk, use whatever you need to make sure that you stay with us, okay? That's the bottom line. But if you are on medication for a chronic-based condition, meaning lasting more than 6 weeks, I have a problem with that. Unless it's absolutely crucial to your survival and that there is no natural alternative, which again, there's almost no cases of that, except for maybe congenital-based birth defects, etc. But if you're telling me, I'm on this for cholesterol, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, etc., I'm saying look for the underlying root cause, rebalance that, then work with your doctor to wean off the medication, because you can make it happen. Here's another conventional medicine medication that we've been using and people have been recommending for decades, using low-dose aspirin. Even though it's only what we call like a baby aspirin. Oh, it makes it sound so nice. It's just a baby aspirin, 82 milligrams or so per day. No, it's not. Here's the research. This is from Dr. Robert Eckel, an MD, professor of medicine at Colorado School of Medicine in Aurora, Colorado, and president of the American Heart Association. This is conventional medicine. I just want to get this very clear. This is conventional medicine telling us, do not use aspirin anymore on a daily basis. Here's why. Low-dose aspirin was long considered an effective way to reduce the odds of blood clots that could lead to heart attacks and strokes. But recently, research suggests that the benefits are outweighed by the risks for dangerous internal bleeding. The exception, daily low-dose aspirin, is generally beneficial for someone who has already experienced a heart attack or thrombotic strokes. Okay, so that basically means blood clot-based strokes. So here's the thing. Conventional medicine has always said, well, it's time for you to start going on a baby aspirin after the age of 50 years old or so, just to thin the blood out. Make sure you don't have a heart attack. Here's the problem. It leads to your organs literally bleeding. That's not an exaggeration. Your organs, your internal organs, begin to bleed from that blood thinner. Now, what's aspirin made out of? Like, what does it go back to? Natural herbs. Do the herbs do that in their own way? No. White willow bark? No. Here's the thing, though. We don't need it. We don't need it. We can follow a mainly Mediterranean-style diet, the one that I've been preaching for decades. I didn't make it up. The longest-lived people made it up in the world. Lots of good omegas. That naturally thins the blood. Making sure you get enough magnesium on a daily basis. That dilates the arteries. Reducing stress and cortisol levels. You can check yours by running a thyroid adrenal hormone. And making sure that you have balanced levels of triglycerides and liver enzymes and cholesterol, etc. This is what we need to be doing and we need to be teaching people. If you want a natural blood thinner, you can use cayenne pepper, right? But we don't need to do anything on a daily basis. What we need to do is get our body balanced, achieve equilibrium, and then go about our business, eating a predominantly plant-based diet that's going to keep us healthy. That's what it's all about. So again, This is conventional medicine saying, sorry, we were wrong. We apologize to everyone out there that's had internal bleeding. What we'd like to do is say, we don't recommend that anymore. Now, they don't give you a natural alternative, but they say don't do that anymore. We still need a natural alternative. Fix the reason why the arteries are also clogged. What about all the red blood cell rouleau that we can see under a microscope? Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we drink more water? Really important. Why don't we add a little bit of lemon to that water, a little bit of lime, maybe a pinch of natural Himalayan sea salt? All of these things will improve your overall health. We need to preach more of that. All right. So that is our research for today on the low-dose aspirin, now being taken out of our lives, hopefully forever. So here's what we want to do. I want to go over one more with you because this has been coming up a little bit lately. And I want to go over some data points for you on a genetic test that you might say, this doesn't make any sense. Genetics, I don't know why I ran this test in the first place. Well, here's the thing. This is what I'd like to share with you. Is that, okay, so let me step back just for a second. I want to just kind of give you an overview inside of your body. So when we look at our genes, humans have about 19 to 20, maybe 24,000 genes. That's what they're estimating right now. When they uncovered and basically decoded the human genome, they expected to find 100,000 or so genes in the human body, and they were shocked that to find we have somewhere around 20,000 genes. So they said, okay, that's interesting. We have less than we thought, but really, and more important probably to find out, is that we have about somewhere between 5 million to 10 million single nucleotide polymorphisms. What does that mean? We call them SNPs. So when we look at SNPs, they occur basically in our DNA, about 1 in 1,000 nucleotides. So what does that mean? Well, when we look at it, we're looking at our single nucleotide polymorphisms, our SNPs for short, being able to activate, turn on, turn off, and work with our genes. So they are what we're finding out to be even more important for everyday living and dis-ease in the body. So I want to take this to you now and show you that when we look at someone's genetics, when we look at their genes on a DNA report, we're actually looking more at the single nucleotide polymorphism. So yes, we're looking at the gene. I'm going to give you an example. So here's an example. This is a real-world example. When we're looking at someone's risk for high triglycerides, and high triglycerides would essentially be a marker for how well the liver is doing. How well is it doing processing fructose? How well is it doing processing fat? Is there a lot of inflammation? It's a great one to look at. Well, there's susceptibility to that. So we have one gene. It's called the ApoA5, ApoA5. Now, on the ApoA5, we have two different SNPs, and I want to give you those SNPs just to show you the example. So the first SNP is this, RS122860037. You don't need to know what that means. You never need to be able to repeat it again. But here's what it means, though. For this specific SNP, it could turn on or off the gene if you basically are heterozygous or homozygous for a weakness, let's call it a weakness in that gene, which means that you're more susceptible to higher levels of triglycerides if you take in larger amounts of oxidized fat or saturated fats. That's all you need to know. And if you don't do that, then you'll be in the clear for this specific gene. And the next one, on the same exact gene, it has a different SNP, another single nucleotide polymorphism. And it's RS662799. And this is specific because it shows that those people that have a higher BMI will have a higher risk for higher levels of triglycerides. But what does it mean? It means if you keep your weight in check, your triglycerides should be perfectly normal. Really interesting to look at that. So now we go well beyond our genetics and understand that we are not a prisoner to our genetics. We are the one that dictates our genetics based on our lifestyle. And let's just call it lifestyle as what we're exposed to. Diet, exercise, stress, toxins, rest, emotions, supplements, success mindset. That's my de-stress protocol. And it all matters because sometimes stress is the big factor. Other times, diet's the big factor. Other times, lack of exercise or too much exercise. Other times, emotions, too much anxiety, too much anger. All of those things break us down. That's why we need to find out what are our weak points and improve those. So what I'm saying to you right now is do not underestimate the power, of course, of a genetic and DNA test done through a good lab. We'll link ours up, of course, in the show notes at stephencabral.com/1246 today. But again, you don't have to use the one that we use. But what I wanted to teach you today is this, is that you will see contradictions on a DNA report. You will. Well, one of these says I have high triglycerides. One may say that I don't. Same for type 2 diabetes. Same for this, same for that. We'll always look at what are the activities that would turn on or off that gene. That's what's most important because remember, none of them need to be turned on. And I give you the example. When you were 12 years old, probably didn't have a high blood pressure. But now, at 48, you do. What happened? Well, same genes, but the environment has played its factor. Inflammation from whatever it might be, name it, right? Gut-based issues, heavy metals, stress, et cetera, food sensitivities. So what I want you to look at is this. You have the power to go in, take control of your own health, and be able to literally turn on and off genes. That's what it's all about. Taking control of your own health, change your body, change your life. Thanks so much for tuning into today's podcast. I appreciate you. Hope you've had a great week if you're in the U.S. celebrating this holiday weekend. And of course, if this podcast was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. And don't forget, this weekend, we answer our community's questions each and every weekend on the Cabral House Calls. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.